Yo, YouTube. What's crack-a-lack-a-jack-a smacking? It's Waffle Man with a video. Today we got some Last of Us remastered gameplay because this game is a fucking beast. And this game is looking beautiful at 1080p, 60 frames per second. But let's get on to the topic of the video. Paul George will be out for the whole NBA season next season. And we don't know this yet, but it's pretty much apparent that he's going to be out for the whole season because both his tibia and his fibula were fractured after he injured himself in the USA scrimmage blue team versus white team after he was trying to block a layup attempt by James Harden. And man, that was a nasty injury, and a lot of people are blaming that the stanchion, which is like the thing that holds the hoop, was a little bit too close to the court. But you know what? You know, stuff like this happens. You can't blame that for injuring him. I mean, some people can blame it, but you know, what can you do about it? Really, what can you do about it? We didn't really think anyone was gonna get hurt like that. I mean, wasn't that why it was left like that? Like, people go tumbling all the time into that stuff still. People get tumbling into the crowd and it's cameramans. So, you know, you couldn't stop this injury, but hopefully Paul George returns. And, you know, it's a devastating loss for Paul George and the NBA and mostly for the Pacers, man. I mean, let's talk about the NBA portion of this part. So if Paul George is out for a year, that can change the East dramatically. He is a star player. You know, he's one of the most improved players in this league. You know, he started out at about 8 points per game. Then he went to like 12 points per game. Then he went to 17 points per game 2 years ago. And then last season, he had a career high 21 points per game. So you can see he's improving each year. And, you know, this year, this may have been a good year for him because last year, you know, he kind of stumbled off a little bit. But this year, he could have been, I think he was ready to come back. He had that look in his eye that he was ready to come back, especially since LeBron joined his division. He wanted to prove himself. But, you know, unfortunately, now he can't do that. So, everybody's putting their prayers into his heart. So, basically, the East is going to change a lot. Now, the Pacers lost Paul George. That's the biggest piece they had. But the fact that they let Lance Stephenson go as well, now that kind of makes some... I don't even know where to put them in the East now. Now I feel like they're grouped up with the Nets. You know, the Nets, the Raptors. What else is there? There's the Bulls. Even though the Bulls are probably better than them now, because Derrick Rose has been looking out. You know, he's been looking good, but he's mixed up with those teams now. And I think, I don't know if I'm just gonna say this because I'm a biased Knicks fan, but I try not to be biased. But I think the Knicks have a better chance than the Pacers now. Because really, who's left on the Pacers? David West is getting older. Roy Hibbert, oh god no, Roy Hibbert? This guy scored 0 points one game in the playoffs. How do you score 0 points one game? After you get like 28 minutes, you're 7'2", you're big as hell, you can't even score 1 point? I mean, this guy must be, something must be wrong with this guy. That's what I'm saying with Roy Hibbert. You know, I don't know, man. And you know, he's just a big man. So you got David West, Roy Hibbert. You know they don't have Danny Granger anymore. They have Chris Copeland, I guess. They still got George Hill, who isn't a great point guard. I think he's just an average point guard in this league. So, to be honest, the Pacers, we don't even really see who they really have. Like, who's left? Their main piece was Paul George. And you know, a lot of people have been saying that Paul George is going to return stronger. Brian Hartline, a wide receiver for the Dolphins, said he had a similar injury. And he said he returned stronger because bones tend to heal stronger after recovering from a devastating injury like this. But yeah, I don't like seeing these injuries. You know, we saw this injury with Kevin Ware, I think it was like a year or 2 years ago. That injury was whew. I don't even know how that injury happens. If that injury would have happened to me, I don't know how much pain I would be. I would not want to be feeling that pain because, listen, I felt pain like that before, but this pain is just unbelievable when you see it like that. It looked pretty gruesome, and they stopped the scrimmage. You know they had to stop the scrimmage because that That was just a terrible injury. No one wanted to play. And Team USA is also running out of players. They're running out of options now. Because this game was going to decide who was going to make the team or not make the team. And Paul George was probably a definite going to make the team because he's Paul George, of course. But they lost Paul George now. He was about to be their starting small forward. If you think about that, Team USA has lost a lot of players. First of all, LaMarcus Aldridge has dropped out. Russell Westbrook has dropped out. You know, who else has dropped out? Kevin Love has dropped out because Kevin Love doesn't know where he's going to play. So the fact that Kevin Love doesn't know where he's going to play, you know, that made him drop out because he wants to not get injured. And also, Kawhi Leonard dropped out. And Kawhi Leonard would have been a fine addition to Team USA, I thought, because you know what he did in the finals, and he's a gritty player. He's young, he's athletic, he could defend some people. But even he dropped out. You know, I'm surprised all these people are dropping out. And I know that owners don't like NBA players to go play these competitions because they're afraid of injuries. And I understand them. Even as a fan, like I like to see Carmelo Anthony play in this tournament. So LeBron, we want to see those play. We want to see the best players on the court play in this tournament. But unfortunately, you know, probably their time has come in. And the FIBA tournament is really for those young guys. So, but even for the Olympics, there's a lot of owners that don't want their players to play for the Olympics. I mean, it's a good thing because they're serving their country. But they don't want the injuries. I mean, trust me. If anything were to happen to Carmelo Anthony and he had an injury during one of these games or one of these foreign tournaments and he was out for the season, I think I would just cry. I would cry myself to sleep. I mean, come on, not even an NBA game, but the fact that he was in a tournament and he freaking, like, I don't even know, man. It would even be, it would even satisfy me. I couldn't even take it. I don't even think I'd be able to watch another game of the tournament. But I mean, that's the risk they faced. I mean, they can't stop the players. I think the only way they would be able to stop the players if they were to incorporate something in the contract for those players, which probably won't happen. But these players want to play, so let them play. Some players believe that they'll get injured, like Kevin Love. He wants to get his max money. He wants to get a max contract, so he's not going to play and get injured. And you know him, he gets injured quite often sometimes. So yeah, these players, man, it's a tough game out there. It's a tough loss for the Pacers. I know their fans must be going crazy because, I mean, come on. Their season, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals like last season. I think the year before last season. And now it's like, man, they've been set back. They've been set back. I mean, remember Derrick Rose? Derrick Rose got injured like 2 seasons now. I mean, he knows what Paul George is going through. I mean, it's just tough. It's a tough loss, man. But anyways, YouTube, give me your thoughts on Paul George, because this is really bad news for the NBA. But it does free up a lot of teams in the East to come. Now the East is really wide open, and you better watch out, because if another person, and I think I said this before, I think I told you guys Paul George was gonna get injured last season. I said that in one of my videos. I said Paul George is gonna get injured. Now I think I said that before the playoffs he was gonna get injured, but I said that Paul George was gonna get injured. So I guess it's a bad thing that I was right, but you know, I was right. I called it. But anyways, YouTube, I'm out. Peace.